So hello again everybody, welcome to another little session about how to get the most out of Stelo for building Fiori apps. Today we're going to look at changing the messages that we see on submission so that we can put our own custom messages whenever we push data from an app back to the back end. And so we're going to start off with our demo app here. I'm going to fill in some information just to show you what messages we currently see when we launch the app. So there we see the first message uploading form data to server. That's before the data goes back, and then we get the success message, form ID, blah blah blah, successfully stored when the data comes back from the app. So the first thing we can do is change the message that the backend sends to the app through the configuration screen. So here we are in the SAP IMG. We migrate through Forms Lifecycle Manager, initialize customer code to the additional settings, specify alternate system messages, and here we can see a bunch of different messages that the system produces, and we can then configure an override message by the customer and the application type. So the top message there, that's the standard submission message that is returned. We can see that the document ID is included inside the body of the message. And now we can add the customer code and the application type or form type for this particular app, and then the message that we'd like to replace the normal message. So here, something very simple. We could add the document number in there as well if we so choose. So we can save that and go back to the app and simply preview it again. So I'll add a couple of fields again just to save this data to see the changes to that success message, and so we can see the new replaced message appears instead of the default one. A second approach for changing our message text is inside the controller. We have some functions that control all the logic for submission. The three highlighted here are the ones we're interested in. The first one is the dialog, so that's the pop-up window that we see after the data has been successfully sent back. We can see that this is a little function that we pass in the success message, and that's simply pushed into the body of the dialog. So one thing we can do is, for example, just change that text there and look elsewhere for the text, or hard code something, for example. The second of these three functions is where we do all the validation within the app before we try a data submission. So this is where we check for mandatory fields and make sure everything's coloured in, and any other validation we might wish to do. And at the end of there, we move on to the third of these three functions, which is where we actually invoke the gateway service, push the information back, and then check did we get some good data. This is where we set the text for the little pop-up dialog to show that we are sending information back, so you could just change that there if we so wished, or indeed put some logic to get that text from somewhere else, and then we'll see we interrogate the response back from the back end. We have the data that's returned comes in an array. We're simply reading the first element of that array, taking the field message from that and pushing that back into the dialog as the text that we saw of the first of those three functions. So let's pop back there, and so we'll see where that parameter is used, and we'll just replace that for the demo here with some hard-coded text to illustrate that we can override the message again inside the function here. Okay, so we can save that, preview. So the app gets re-rendered again, and we'll go and just add some data in those fields. Just so we don't get all the mandatory field checking stopping us. Then we hit save. We see the first dialog text has changed, and indeed the second dialog text has changed. In that way we're able to control the text from the app rather than from the back end. The one thing I haven't really covered in any detail is how we might handle different languages, different translations, and of course this would involve a mixture of work to do inside the app and potentially inside the back end. Anything we do in the back end is always tons easier because the configuration table we saw is translatable, so we can maintain all those messages in the right language in the back end. If we're storing text in the app itself, then we'd probably have a separate configuration file with the various different language versions of those texts in order to pluck out the right one in runtime, and so we change the JavaScript to basically choose the right language if there were more than one. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you can join me next time.